Where he started becoming a medic at a castle called Chateau de la Roche in France. But before he could even finish his basic training, Sir Harry himself contracted bacterial meningitis, which was a deadly disease that was going around at this time. And he ended up contracting it so bad that he was pronounced dead because no doctor could feel a heartbeat. They put him in a morgue for 4 days before they pulled his body out for an autopsy. They opened up his mouth and cut out a culture on the top of his mouth to try and learn more about this deadly disease and how to fight it. When they opened up his mouth and made a little incision, he started bleeding. Well, they stopped what they were doing immediately because dead people don't bleed.
Yeah.
So they had this experimental drug back then, we know it's now adrenaline. They gave that to him to his heart. He woke right up and started asking what's going on and so on and so forth. And now all these doctors are freaked out because this man's been dead in a morgue for days, and now here he is alive and talking to him like nothing's ever happened.
Wow.
So they put him in quarantine and by himself into a little log cabin because back then there was no cure for it, so they had to let it run its course. Basically, they locked him up and let him die without letting the disease spread everywhere. Well, after a couple of days, they came in to check on him and they realized he wasn't getting worse, he was getting better. And when the doctors had a genius idea, okay, we need to test this man's blood, much like what they're doing nowadays with the COVID-19. Well, they got the idea during World War I with the Spanish influenza and the bacterial meningitis. That's when they started doing that stuff. Well, Harry was one of the first people they did it to, and they ended up, long story short, the cure that we used for bacterial meningitis came from Sir Harry Andrews' blood.
Wow.
It's never been altered or anything like that. It's still the same thing that they were issuing in World War I. He is still saving lives even 100 years later. After the war, after that, he figured, what the heck, if this disease didn't kill me, what's this war going to do? So he went in and finished his basic training, got shipped over to a castle called Chateau de la Roche in France, which was a castle they converted into a hospital, where he served throughout the remainder time of the war, being a medic. After the war, his platoon sergeant came to him and his platoon asked him if they wouldn't mind going around all the castles in Norway, France, Germany, and so on and so forth, and demilitarizing them, make it safe for people like you and me to walk in and out of. So Harry, who fell